That's why it's crazy. I mean, this is like a watch reviewers like type of content.
Yeah, this
editing.
is Teddy Baltazar on steroids. I don't see a lot of nice watches outside of Rolex. So
yeah.
Rolex, they're nice watches.
I think you see a couple of Megas too, or Tudors, every now and then.
Yeah, every now and then. But to be honest, man, I really don't see a lot here. I would say 50% of young men had a watch on that was not an Apple Watch, and most of those were mechanical. I was so impressed. So they're not just looking for that Rolex, right? They're looking for things that show off their personality.
He's like, what the f***? Get away from me, bro. And my brother. Hey everyone, welcome to Between the Lugs. I'm Felix. This is
Jason.
Yeah, Jason. And today we're going to be talking about a couple things. I think we have a reaction. I wanted to get your reaction. You have not seen this.
I know very little.
It's a little bit on YouTube right now. Some watch people are covering it, but Apple released a show that has, for some reason, a lot of specs about watches and information about watches. Kind of interesting.
Sounds wonderful.
Doesn't really have anything to do with the show, so I think there's like a watch nerd in the editing room that's like putting things together in the script. So we're gonna look at that and get a little reaction there. Talk about some things about Patreon questions that we have from our Patreon audience, and then the Gen Z millennial takeover on watches.
Yeah. There's one thing before that, which probably won't take too long, and that is like seeing nice watches in the wild.
Right.
Like how often do you see nice watches in the wild?
Is that a question or a statistic?
No, this is just for our conversation.
Oh, okay, nice. Well, that'll be fun to get into. Okay, so that's kind of what to expect from this episode. I guess we'll start with a wrist check. You can go ahead and start us off.
Yeah, I am wearing my Tudor. This is a vintage 1969 Oyster Prince Jumbo, and I wore it specifically today because we just released a video that dropped yesterday that's performing very well, so super excited about that.
You've probably seen it then.
And there was no B-roll on this watch.
No. There is B-roll on the watch.
Well, not in the right...
It didn't make it into the video.
Yeah. So I wore this today so that our audience could see the B-roll that was supposed to be in that video.
We'll actually show you the actual B-roll. We won't even take any B-roll for this. So
exactly.
That's what should have been. Very fitting, by the way, because I also wore my watch partly because of that video. Because you mentioned this. This is a Tissot Powermatic 80. You mentioned it as a category of entry-level, mid-range watches that you can buy. That's a good daily, good everyday watch. And so it's just a good design. And
it's a great watch.
Looks great. Well, I guess that leads into the next section, which is our Patreon questions. So if you guys don't know, over on Patreon, we like to make a post. Once a month, you'll be able to ask us a question. We'll answer it in a Between the Lugs video like today's. And we have two members who have left some comments. So the first question that we have is from Derek Rushing. And he asks, what would be some good entry-level precious I almost said precision. Precious metal watches to consider. That's a good question. What are some good entry-level precious metal watches?
Okay, so this was very open-ended,
Yeah.
The question. I think that if we're talking true entry-level and we just want the look of gold, the Orient Bambino has a gold PVD version that's really, really beautiful.
Good dress watch.
Yeah, and then Tissot has their Powermatic 80 with a gold PVD on it. And I think those are really good entry level if you're just looking for that gold look. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're looking for a legit precious metal watch, I don't really know of anything that's entry level, but one of my all-time favorites is the Glashütte Original Powermatic, Panomatic.
Lunar.
Yeah, Panomatic. So it comes in like a white dial, a black dial, a green dial, a blue dial. All of them look fucking fabulous. I mean, they are stunning watches. That would be my pick for a true precious metal watch to look at.
Now my pick, I kind of have 2 to 3 choices, and these are non-retail. This is with the understanding that maybe you want to pay the same as an entry-level luxury watch, but without the expense of the retail gold watches at precious metal.
Right.
My first pick was a Cartier Tank Solo, which it not retails, used some older models from the 2000s and early on, is going for around 4K. So you're not going to spend crazy amount of money. It's a tank, so you are still going to get a quartz movement in there.
It's a quartz.
It is quartz, and it's going to be on a strap, so it's not a full bracelet precious metal look. It's going to be hard to find a full bracelet precious metal for something under 20K. It's probably just not going to happen. But that's a good option. And the other alternative that I put on here was a Tag Heuer 6000 Professional Series. They make a couple of these, but if you find one precious metal and gold, it's also going to be around $4,000 and on a strap. I think it's a good daily watch, honestly. They look really good. That's a daily precious metal watch. It's not as dressy as the tank. So those are kind of our options that we picked through for your question. Hopefully we answered that as clear and as good as possible. If not, well, shoot us another question.
Yeah.
Well, the second question came from our boy Raymond Freeman. What watches have you drooled over in pictures but found disappointing in person? What are some watches that's I don't have as much experience as you, so this doesn't happen as often.
Well, in the video that we mentioned at the beginning of BTL that we dropped yesterday, I go through basically with the knowledge I have now, how would I do my watch collection?
Yeah.
And in there, I mentioned some watches that were disappointing. One of that is the Mont Blanc Heritage Salmon dial that I bought. And in photos, I was absolutely in love with that watch. It had the look that I thought I wanted. It was dressy, yet a little sporty with the case design, and the salmon color just really popped, and I was like, oh my God, this thing's amazing. I got the watch, and when I finally got it, mistake one, I didn't try it on in person. I didn't even see it in the metal. Then I got it, and I was like, wow, this is not the right color salmon. I mean, it's very pink. So not the right color salmon. And then it did not wear. It's 40 millimeters, but it wears big because of the way that the case design is, and the lugs are slightly longer, and it just fills up your wrist, and it was not as elegant looking on the wrist as I thought. So big disappointment in that watch. Another watch that I drooled over when it was first released was the Tudor Black Bay, the 925, which is their silver Tudor that they had or have. And I was like, man, this thing is amazing. I was looking at it. I was like, that bezel is beautiful. And then when I saw it in the metal, it's a very boring looking watch to me. It did not appear live that it did.
That's exciting.
In the photos. And then the last one is, and I've actually owned this watch too, was the Vacheron, the
Historique?
Yeah, sorry. The Vacheron Historique American 1921. I bought that rose gold in 40 millimeters, and it's a cushion style case. And that 40 millimeters is massive. Now, I was very disappointed when I got it because I love that watch. Funny thing is, they make it in 36.5 millimeters, and that is the perfect watch. And I have handled it and put it on my wrist, and I know that that's the right watch. But that would be 3 examples of watches that I really drooled over, and I was like, gotta have them. I know that I'm going to love them. And then when I got them, or when I saw them, I was disappointed.
I haven't been collecting as long, so I think when I was 3 or 4 months into this and we traveled to Fort Lauderdale, we went to visit Exquisite Timepieces, and they showed us Resence.
Our boys at Exquisite.
Yeah.
Exquisite.
Oh my.
Exquisite.
Every time now. I'll put like a muzzle on you. Well, while we were down there, they showed us this brand Resence. They're like, yeah, it's oil filled. And I was like, this is the coolest thing. Because I thought it was smartwatches
So
at first.
cool.
And they look like smartwatches, but they're not. They're real mechanical watches.
Yeah, it looks like a digital dial.
Yeah, and the reason why it looks like that is they have the great patent and contraption where the oil bubble is hidden. It's like the air pockets on the bottom side, and so you don't get that air bubble that you normally do with oil filled watches. So it's a very cool concept. I would recommend checking them out. And I was very hot for that watch. I wanted to do a review on it. I ended up being able to wear it in the metal for a couple days, and that kind of did it for me. Jason knows. I'm excited. I'm gonna buy this.
When
watch
we
one
left
day.
Exquisite and we were flying back, you had to put your briefcase on your lap because you were so excited the whole plane ride back.
Yeah, that watch got me in many ways. So great question, Raymond. Now we're moving to the video that I mentioned.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned before, Apple released this, and it's called Your Friends and Neighbors. The whole context of this guy has lost his job, I believe, and he has a lot of millionaire rich friends, and so he ends up actually stealing from them. And one thing that he steals, because he knows is high value, are some watches. I would like to hear your opinion on how you feel, how much coverage of watches this has, and if you feel like it's accurate. That's kind of what I want to gain from you.
Okay.
So he opens the watch drawer up.
Yeah.
The Patek Philippe Nautilus sealed 18-karat white gold blue sunburst dial, water resistant up to 30 meters. Like that will ever come up. Like the ads say,
The current
you never
retail's
actually
wrong.
own a Patek Philippe. You merely look after it for the next generation.
Oh wow.
This probably made a couple-
So is that did by the way, it's Patek. Patek is like over the top. It really isn't
I'm
Patek.
gonna roast the actor for saying it wrong.
But real quick, did they sponsor this?
I don't believe
You don't
so.
think Patek threw some money at them?
Maybe they could have.
I mean, that looked like a commercial.
I know that's why it's crazy. I mean, this is like a watch reviewer's like type of content.
Yeah, this
editing.
is Teddy Baldassar on steroids.
I mean, they
Right?
have every spec that you can think of: white gold bracelet, dial, sunburst blue, the movement,
sweep seconds, Look at
jewels,
this.
yeah, sweeps, which sweeping hand
Date
seconds,
in aperture.
screw down crown, sapphire crystal. I mean, just things that you don't need.
I know.
No average viewer cares about this, but it's pretty crazy that it's there.
I know that Patek looks off.
It's off because they're using a clone. They always use fakes in shows, and that's the first thing that when I watched is like, yeah, that is not a real Nautilus.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't even use an accurate super clone.
Wow, they couldn't find one dude in Hollywood that had a Nautilus. Like what?
Well, to give it to them, I mean, this is a white gold too, precious metal. To find a real one, the insurance is too crazy for some sets to have this, just even in their presence. So
5711. Oh, it's a 1G. You're
yeah,
right. It's white
a
gold.
white gold. And now we're gonna do the follow up where he tries to sell this watch.
Like the ads.
Yeah, I got to see how this goes down.
Patek Philippe Nautilus, 18 karat. It's a nice watch. Got to check the book, but I think I can give you about $175,000 for it. There's a strong secondhand market for these.
200.
185, best and last.
Sold.
Great. I just need the box and the papers.
It's interesting, huh? That they threw that in there. There's more to this, but I think that's an interesting topic.
And this is like
It's not new.
this is a pawn shop.
Yeah, this is a pawn shop.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I know, but it's got a serial number and a certificate of authenticity, which I'm going to need.
Well, I don't have any of that. It was a gift.
Right. Sorry, my friend. No papers, no sale.
ouch. Also, if that was a real Nautilus, that sucked.
For sure.
That was an ouch.
But by the way, there's tons of people that buy Nautiluses and they don't
No
keep that
box and
stuff.
papers and-
they lose it when they're moving or they don't understand that they need to keep it. Especially some rich people just buy a watch and
Yeah.
they don't know anything about watch collecting. But and also a pawn shop, I wouldn't imagine that that's what they would necessarily have to have.
I think it definitely depends on the shop too. There are definitely some people that are like, yeah, there's no way we're gonna buy this. It could be counterfeit, it could be fake, whatever. We need some type of authenticity for it, and also if it's stolen, the whole. We've talked about this.
Yeah,
in
but a
another
box of
episode.
papers doesn't tell you if it's stolen or not.
True, but
I mean,
the
I guess
serial
it
number
would be less likely that you have a box of papers like if it was a stolen watch, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it wasn't, I guess.
But also the assumption too there is you're going to, in real life scenario, you're going to lose a lot of money if you don't have your box and papers,
Oh.
and especially on a watch of this value.
1,000%, yeah.
And there's more to this.
What if I drop the price?
Here. You go here in the Bronx. You ask for Lou.
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 And you tell Lou Lipschitz sent you.
Lip shit? Is that what he said?
That's what it sounded like.
So Lipshit sends him to
Lou.
another dealer or seller, buyer? Yeah, another buyer. And here's where he goes in. This one's a little bit more shady, right?
Yeah, so my wife just thinks it's too showy.
Too showy. No? Is that why you don't wear a wedding ring?
You gonna buy the watch or you gonna analyze me?
I can do both at the same time. I'll give you 65 for it.
Lipschitz was gonna give me 185.
Then he sent you to me. You could sell it legit, you wouldn't be here.
95.
This is new to you. You don't understand this market, but you still think you can negotiate it. That's not savvy, that's stupidity.
Maybe it's just desperation.
That's the first honest thing you've said. Now we can do business. I'll give you 60.
You just said 65.
Deal. You got me back to my original price.
So
Negotiator.
that's kind of the premise, right? So he steals this Nautilus from a rich friend, and he tries to get it at a pawn shop. Pawn shop's like, I'm not gonna do it unless it's
Yeah.
authentic. And then he goes to the shady dealer. Like I said, he loses a lot of value from the original watch, but she takes the risk.
Right. She takes the risk. The thing is that she didn't do anything to check whether it was authentic.
Right. Well,
That's the funny thing.
That is
Obviously,
true.
there was weight to that because it's white gold, but still, like, she really barely looked at it.
there's one more. This is just back to the spec ordeal. I think I literally just saw it, and it's just interesting. You're not gonna like the watch that they have on this one, though.
This guy is really comfortable in people's houses.
Well, these are all his friends.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he knows the layouts. So he has a couple Richard Milles.
The Richard Mille Felipe Massa automatic chronograph with a
Back to
signature
this
rose
thing.
gold and titanium
Richard
skeleton
Mille.
and flyback function goes
Richard
for
Mille.
upwards of $225,000. I hadn't seen Brad wear this in years, which meant he probably wouldn't miss it. He may have already forgotten he owned it.
I love how Brad's leaving $200,000 plus watches just sitting in his
Yeah,
drawer.
and that's just the one watch. There's a 400K watch right next to it, another
Yeah.
250K watch, and it's just chilling like at his computer desk.
I mean, you don't have to get super bougie with it, but I don't know collectors that have that type of watch just sitting in
In a
their
drawer, not even secure, not even a watch.
I
nothing.
mean, a watch box.
Yeah,
Come on,
something.
guys.
It is pretty crazy though that I still don't understand why they go into all these specs. Like, just show the watch and the value, but they touch on everything about the watch.
Well, definitely a watch nerd is in the editing.
Oh, for sure.
1,000%, which I love.
Yeah, good for. Maybe he should work for.
We got to get
for
on Reddit and find out like
the editor for this.
who is this?
Give us an interview, please, because this is watch content.
I know. Look at those mud
Black
guards, man.
rubber, curved bezel, sides, case back. The caliber's on there. No one's reading this, by the way, except for like the watch nerds.
Yeah, I would, but
Yeah.
that's wild.
Imagine coming across this show like randomly and be like, "What the fuck? Why do they have all these specs?" It's pretty insane. So that's that.
Okay,
how do you
cool.
feel about that? It's
Well,
making it to main media, you know?
Yeah, well, that is cool. I think that it's a little over the top when they go into the specs.
For sure.
It feels misplaced.
Yeah.
But I like it. Mm-hmm. And being a watch geek, and I could see other watch geeks like talking about this.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
assuming you saw this being talked about maybe.
Yeah, I
like,
did.
in
Yeah, there's a
forum
couple
or-
of videos that people already talked about it already.
Yeah, that's cool.
So it's interesting. It is cool to feel like it's becoming more natural to be into watches, right? Which is part of the episode that we're going to talk about today.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just becoming the norm to be like interested.
I think
in
there's a
wearing
renaissance
watch.
coming, and we're riding the wave right now
Yeah.
of mechanical watches coming back.
Yeah,
Or
completely.
just interest in watches outside of an Apple Watch. And that goes into the question that I posed for this episode is, do you ever see nice watches in public?
That's subjective. I think we see a lot of Rolexes around here a lot. But yeah, I saw the Cartier tank, vintage Cartier tank on this guy. He's probably a little bit younger than me. And then I saw a Omega Speedmaster at the Leisure Club. We were drinking coffee, and I was like, "Ah, nice watch, man." He was like, "Oh, thank you." And I don't think he was into watches, because normally if someone compliments my watch, I'm like, "Oh yeah, are you into watches?"
I don't see a lot of nice watches outside of Rolex.
Rolex,
So
yeah.
Rolex, they're nice watches.
I think
But-
you see a couple of Omegas too, or Tudors, every now and then.
Yeah, every now and then. But to be honest, man, I really don't see a lot here. But when I
Yeah.
travel, it's so funny. When I travel, I see, especially if you're in Europe, I mean, I see nice watches
Oh, yeah,
all
everywhere.
the time. So I see that when I travel. But dude, I've never seen a Longa here on anybody
I
else's
know,
wrist.
like, in the wild, it
I've
doesn't
never seen a
happen.
Patek here. I don't think I've ever seen. I take that back. I helped a buddy acquire an AP. So outside of his, I've never seen another AP
locally.
here.
Yeah.
I just don't see those
Yeah.
those kinds of watches. Now, if I go to a sporting event outside of here, like if I travel to Miami, to Tampa, to New Orleans, to Atlanta, I will see nice
Yeah,
watches.
you run into it.
So, anyways, I just thought it was an interesting question because I noticed that I don't see a lot of nice watches here.
I saw this watch, subjectively nice at a bar, and I said, "Hey, great watch." He was like, "Oh yeah, my brother gave it to me," and all this. Like, your brother has great taste. Great taste. I wasn't wearing this.
Great tits.
No,
Okay.
I didn't say that. Maybe
Your brother
drinks,
has great tits.
3 more drinks in, I would have said it. I was pretty deep that night.
Well, that would have been I would have loved to have heard that conversation.
Yeah. Nice watch. Your brother has great tits right
Yeah.
after. He's like, "What the fuck?
Wait a
Get away
second.
from me, bro." And my brother. All right. Well, I don't know where
I don't
this
know where we're
episode's going. Back to day one.
Okay. Well, do we want to get into really the bulk of our episode?
Yeah,
Even though
absolutely.
we've probably eaten up an hour
20
already.
minutes, half laughing. Yeah, so the mechanical renaissance, right? There's a lot of young people wearing watches, so I'll let you kind of take that away.
Yeah, and this really came from, I recently went to Tallahassee to watch Theo Vaughn. I love Theo Vaughn podcast stuff. I don't think you're a big fan of Theo Vaughn. I can't remember.
He's not that funny to me. I like some clips.
Yeah, and I've never seen his stand up.
Yeah.
And a buddy of mine invited me to go with him, so we went to Tallahassee. Tallahassee, obviously a college town, so lots of very young, you're going to say 18 to 25-year-olds there. Through observation, obviously I don't know the actual percentage, I would say 50% of young men had a watch on that was not an Apple Watch. And most of those were mechanical. Now,
Yeah.
some were like some Casios and some
Sure.
G-Shock, stuff like that, but most of them were mechanical.
Yeah.
I was so impressed. And it threw me off so much that I actually started searching the last morning that we were there. I started looking up young people and their interest in watches and ended up finding that there is this huge resurgence right now.
That's interesting.
Now, specifically like your affordable entry level category, but there's a lot of growth around that because so many young people are getting into it. I pulled a couple of stats.
Yeah.
So basically it says that there's been a huge increase in searches for watches,
Searchies.
searches
There you go.
for watches. The stat is just from last month to now, it's up 34%.
Yeah.
The
On Depop.
Yeah, the search for watches. And then we've got millennials are really the ones that are driving a lot of this, and Gen Z. So those two, that's kind of a broad age range. But
China, UK, Italy seems to be.
yeah,
kind of the hot
UK, Italy. And I can say specifically from being overseas in the UK for sure. Like,
Yeah.
it's massive
Yeah.
over there. Yeah, I just thought it was really cool, and it says what's driving this is just the Gen Z rejection of pure status symbols in favor of genuine craftsmanship. So they're not just looking for that Rolex, right?
Yeah.
They're not just looking for the brands that we all think of, Breitling, Omega, Rolex, Patek, AP, those brands. They're looking for interesting things and micro brands. They're looking for things that show off their personality. But they're also looking for things that are not an Apple Watch, which I just thought was really interesting.
Yeah, I could definitely see that, and I can see that from my mindset too. It's like I think when I first got into this, like I don't want what everyone else wants, but I also don't want anything too like off the cuff, like to give me a 46 minute. Like I wasn't one of those.
Yeah.
I wanted something sophisticated, nice, good, and also like unique to me. And I ended up buying a Seiko. It was my first watch, and good history, whatever. But that specific watch, no one really talks about that watch. It's a dress piece, really good daily, like dressier wear.
Yeah.
But it still works for any occasion. And I think even with my Studio Underdog purchase, like that is the type of watches that most young people enjoy. And that's actually the watch that I get the most compliments on by younger
Studio
folks. Yeah.
Underdog, yeah.
People are like, oh, that's a cool looking watch. Every other watch, this one maybe every now and then, but like other than that, that is the watch that people are interested in talking to me about. So even if you don't like watches.
Yeah, but I mean, I think for the sake of this conversation, I'm curious if the audience has also seen these same things. Like, do you see younger people wearing watches? Because I know that I definitely have seen that. And then I'm also curious for the first question that we had, do you see nice watches when you're out in public? Like, I'm just curious. And if you do, what's like the coolest piece you've ever seen just from a random stranger? You're in a coffee shop and you're like, holy shit, there's a Patek perpetual calendar.
Have you gone up to any younger folk that are wearing watches?
I usually try to do a good job of just telling people when I see, especially a younger person, like, hey, that's a really nice watch.
Yeah.
Or depending on the situation, if we're not just passing each other or it's not too awkward, then I'll ask, hey, what are you wearing?
Yeah.
I try to have a conversation just to reinforce the fact that, there's people that are interested, and that's a great expression and stuff like that.
Yeah. Do you ever feel though, like when people compliment you on your watch and you try to talk to them, sometimes they're like, "Oh, stop nerding out on me right now. I just wanted to say nice watch."
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, I definitely feel that.
I fill that out by just saying, "Oh yeah, thanks. This is so and so." I'll do like the simple.
Yeah.
And then if they ask something back, then
like,
I'm like,
"Oh, they're interested."
Okay, well then I can get into.
And
a
they're like,
conversation.
that's cool. And
Yeah.
they're like, okay, yeah, I'll see you later. I sometimes feel that on the other end too. It's like if I compliment a watch, and like I said, like that guy who was wearing that Omega Speedy, I was like, oh, is that a Speedy? He was like, yeah. And obviously you could tell he doesn't want to get into watches right now.
Yeah, right. So after hours, what are we going to talk? You want to talk about your foot fetish?
Yeah. So in after hours, let's talk about the foot fetish. We'll have a mystery topic in after hours.
Yeah, let's do a mystery topic. I like that.
I think we'll just talk something personal over there. So whatever we end up talking about, Patreon members, you'll be able to see. It'll be something fun. It'll be something interesting. If you're not over there, please, as little as $2, you get a lot of exclusive videos. And
for sure.
You upgrade that to the 10 or the tier 3s, you get giveaways as well.
We just received a new watch also that will be added to our giveaway.
Yeah.
So
correct.
we're receiving stuff on a pretty regular basis right now. And when we receive that stuff, we take photos of it, we create some reels, and then we don't keep it.
Yeah.
We add it to our pile of stuff that we're going to give to our viewers. So.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys. It's one way that we show our appreciation. And again, we end up losing more than we end up gaining at the end of the day, but we really do appreciate your support. It lets us keep going and making good content and videos, and some really cool stuff is on the works. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And remember, ask questions when we do the question of the month.
Yeah, you better.
Yeah, please ask some more.
I think that's it. Let us know your thoughts about the topic today. It seems like watches are becoming super mainstream right now. I'm interested to see how the year kind of pans out with that. I think we were hitting on the nail on a lot of the trends. Now it just seems like everyone might be wearing a mechanical watch. We'll see though.
Yeah, hope so.
Well, until next time.
All right, bro.
All right, bro.
All right, bro.
All right, bro.